I used to be angry at God, not the quiet, polite kind of angry that people admit to in church, the real kind, the kind where you stop praying because what is the point, the kind where you read your Bible and feel nothing, the kind where you look at your life, at everything you lost, everything that went wrong, everything that hurt, and you ask the only question that feels honest: why? I asked it when my father died young and left us with nothing. I asked it when my first son was born too early and did not make it through the night. I asked it when my wife of 31 years sat me down at the kitchen table and the doctor's words hung in the air between us like something none of us wanted to touch. I have asked that question on my knees, in hospital waiting rooms, in the cab of my truck driving nowhere at 2 a.m. because I could not stay in the house with all that quiet. And I want to tell you, after 73 years of living and more suffering than I ever thought one man could carry, I think I finally understand. Not perfectly. I do not have all the answers. No man my age who is honest will tell you he does. But I have learned some things. Things that took most of my life to see clearly. And if I can save you 40 years of confusion and anger by sharing them with you today, then every hard season I walked through was worth something. When I was young, I was angry at God. Not quietly angry, loudly angry. The kind of angry that makes the people who love you nervous. The kind that walks out of church and does not come back for years. I grew up poor, not the kind of poor that is romantic in stories, the kind that is just hard. Cold winters, thin walls. My mother working 2 jobs and still coming up short. My father doing his best until his heart gave out at 52 and left us to figure out the rest without him. I was 19 when he died, the oldest child. Suddenly the man of a house that did not have enough of anything. And I remember standing at his grave on a gray November morning, the ground frozen, the sky the color of old dishwater. And I said something to God that I will not repeat here. But God heard it, and he did not strike me down for it. That was the first thing that surprised me about God. Not the pain. The patience. I spent most of my 20s living like a man with something to prove, working hard, building things, keeping God at arm's length because I had decided, somewhere in the frozen ground of that cemetery, that if he was going to let things like that happen, I was not going to give him the satisfaction of my worship. Then I met a woman named Clara. Clara was the kind of person who made you feel, just by being in the same room, that the world was a little more ordered than you thought. She was warm and steady, and she had a faith that did not flinch. Not at hard questions, not at hard times, not at a hard-headed young man who had too much pride and not enough sense. She used to say to me, "Thomas, you are so busy being angry at God for what he took that you cannot see what he is still giving." I did not want to hear it back then, but she was right. We married young. We built a life together, slowly, with our hands, the way people did then. And for a while, life was good in the way that makes you think it will stay that way. Then came the year everything changed. Our first child, a boy we had already named, arrived too early, and he fought hard. But he was too small and the world was too large, and after 3 days, he was gone. I remember walking out of that hospital and looking up at the sky and saying nothing, because I had nothing left to say. That was the first time in my adult life that the anger was completely gone. Not because I had forgiven God, not because I understood, because I was just too empty for anger anymore. And in that emptiness, for the very first time, I heard something, not a voice, more like a feeling, deep and quiet and underneath everything. I am here. I have always been here. And this is not the end of the story. I am going to tell you what I believe now, after 73 years, after all of it. Not what I was taught in Sunday school, not what sounds good from a pulpit. What I actually believe, in my bones, in the place where a man knows things not because he read them, but because he lived them. The first thing I believe is this: God is not the author of your suffering, but he is the redeemer of it. There is a difference, and it took me a long time to understand it. This world is broken. It has been broken since the very beginning of the story. Disease is real. Loss is real. People fail each other. Hearts give out too early. Children arrive too small. Things fall apart in ways that make no sense. God did not design the brokenness, but he stepped into it. He did not watch from a distance. He came down into the middle of it, into a body that could be tired and hungry and betrayed and killed. And he suffered too. I used to think that was just theology, a thing you said at Easter. Now I think it is the most important fact in the universe. The God I was angry at knows what it feels like to hurt. He is not sitting somewhere comfortable, asking you to trust a process he has never been through himself. He went first. The second thing I believe: suffering is the only school that teaches certain lessons. I have learned more about patience in 1 hard year than in 10 easy ones. I have learned more about compassion from my own grief than from any book I ever read. I have learned more about what matters, about what is real and what is noise, from loss, than from anything prosperity ever taught me. When my wife Clara got sick, the long kind of sick, the kind that changes everything slowly, I learned how to sit with someone in pain without trying to fix it. I learned how to hold a hand and say nothing and have that be enough. I learned that presence is sometimes the only gift worth giving. I could not have learned that in comfort. There is no classroom for that lesson except the hard one. And I have watched, over 73 years, I have watched the people who went through the most become the ones who could hold the most for others. The woman who lost a child becoming the one every grieving mother calls. The man who lost everything at 40, rebuilding at 55 with a generosity he never had before. The person who walked through the darkest valley, becoming the one who is not afraid to walk into someone else's dark. Suffering does not just break you. If you let it, it builds something in the broken place that was not there before. The third thing I believe, and this is the one I wish I had understood at 19, God's timing is not cruelty. It is craftsmanship. I am a man who worked with his hands most of his life, built things, fixed things. I know what it takes to make something that lasts. You cannot rush it. You cannot skip the difficult parts. The parts that are slow and hard and require more patience than you think you have, those parts are not filler. Those parts are the structure. I planted an oak tree in my backyard the year Clara and I moved into our house. I was 30 years old. I wanted shade. That tree did not give me shade for 20 years. 20 years of watering it. 20 years of watching it grow slowly while I wanted it faster. 20 years of patience I did not always feel, but practiced anyway. Today that tree is the largest thing in my yard. My grandchildren climb it. It shades the whole back of the house. Birds nest in it every spring. I did not get the tree I wanted at 30. I got the tree that took 20 years to become what it needed to be. Some of the things God is building in your life are oak trees. They will not give you shade next month. They will not look like much for a long time, but they are growing, deeper than you can see, stronger than the growth you can measure. Do not cut down the tree because it has not shaded you yet. I am 73 years old, and if I could sit across from you right now, wherever you are, whatever you are going through, I would not give you a speech. I would just tell you this. The pain you are in right now is real. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Do not let anyone hand you a Bible verse like a bandage on a deep wound and tell you to feel better. The hurt is real, and it is okay that it hurts. But I need you to hear me, with all of my 73 years behind these words. The hurt is not the whole story. I have watched God redeem things in my life that I was completely certain were permanent losses. The son I lost, his memory is the reason I hold my living children with both arms every time I see them. Nothing taught me that the way losing him did. The anger I carried for years against God, working through it made my faith something real, not something I inherited, something I built through fire, something nobody can take from me because I paid for every piece of it. Clara's illness, the years of sitting with her, of learning to love someone in their weakness the way she had always loved me in mine. Those were some of the most sacred years of my life. None of it was wasted. Not a single hard season. Not a single tear. I believe, with everything I have lived, that what God said in Romans 8, verse 28 is true. All things work together for good, for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Not some things, not the easy things, all things. He is a God who takes what the enemy meant for your destruction and turns it into the very thing that makes you unbreakable. You are not being punished. You are not being forgotten. You are not being left to figure this out alone. You are being shaped. And the shaping, I promise you this, with every year I have lived, the shaping is worth it. Keep going. The oak tree is still growing.